G'day, today is qualifying day here at the Japanese Grand Prix and there's been plenty going on and you've come here to find out what's gone on behind the scenes, so let's get cracking. Well, it's now just after 5:30 and we've had quali and you've probably already realised that Max Verstappen once again ended up on pole position, but Lando Norris put in a ripper effort. He will start third and Checo Perez from second. Daniel Ricciardo was a lot happier because he managed to put in a pretty good performance, only one spot behind his teammate Yuki Tsunoda, and coming out of the garage today at the FIA garage he was certainly in much better spirits than he has been over the last couple of race weekends. Yuki though was hugely popular as he made his way down where I'm standing here right now, which is the Paddock section that leads down to the media centre behind me, and his press officer was having to urge people to keep moving, such was the crowd around him. Kevin Magnussen, I didn't mention this earlier on, but here's some pictures of his spin which happened at the hairpin. He was okay, but did kick up a fair bit of mud, as you can see here. Now I want to talk to you about these two ladies. They were funny. They had these drivers' heads cut out, then they had this sign, and they went from team hospitality suite to suite, just standing outside here. So for instance here, they would stand right here and they would look through that window and they'd wave those signs at people, and yes, for the limited amount of time that I stayed with them, they were very successful. Did I mention earlier on Sergio Perez? I don't think I did. He signed a cap and it was dangled from up here, from the first level on a string, down to Sergio for him to sign. Now that I've seen happen quite a lot in Austin, Texas, but that is the first time I've seen it being done right here in this paddock. Have a look at this picture. Is Carlos Sainz praying, and is he praying to me? He's not praying, and he's not praying to me. Indeed, I caught him coming up the stairs today, and he got nearly to the top, and then he put his hands up like that, and I've kept shooting. What he's actually doing is begging the gate attendant to allow him to slip through the swipe gates without his pass. Now a number of drivers do this, they just forget to bring their passes when they arrive at the track. That was the case this morning for Carlos and he was allowed to squeeze through. They get special consideration. Now I should say too that you want to watch my What the Drivers Drove video coming up next week, because Carlos's car is amazing, but Charles is even prettier. It's probably the best car I have seen all year. I spent half of the first session today sitting on this floor here taking photos of cars in pit lane. Now I want you to take a very close look at this picture. What do you see? Valtteri Bottas discarding his tear-off. Now a number of drivers do this, and I noticed today at least 3 in pit lane, including Pierre Gasly. And where do they end up? Well, mostly on the ground, but sometimes, as you probably remember recently, in the air intakes of cars, and it causes some drama. Still, you have to be unlucky to get one of those stuck in your air intake. Lewis Hamilton today was all in black when he arrived, and then I managed to catch him going to the garage, and Lewis wants to get there quickly, and it's very hard for a driver of his standing to get through a crowd, so he comes out the back entrance of the hospitality suite, and via scooter he speeds to the garage. It's disappointing for some fans, but you got to understand, the man is high in demand and he has very little time. Now I can tell you that the Apple F1 movie crew, the Brad Pitt film crew, are back here shooting this weekend. Small crew, 20 odd people, no actors. Well, we had a brief appearance of Brad, but just this cardboard cutout of his head. They're doing some extra vision that will be used in the movie, I believe, crowd shots. They're easily identifiable too because they have these APX tabards, whereas our tabards don't have anything like that. And if you'd like to know more about the production of the movie, have a look at the video I recently put up, Brad Pitt's F1 movie. It's done pretty well and I think you'll find it quite enjoyable. Fan-wise, I came across this gentleman who'd made a mock trophy out of very heavy cardboard or very high quality paper. But not only that, he produced a car for Pierre Gasly. When Esteban Ocon came in today, he was carrying one of these similar boxes, and it indeed has a gift for him from that same gentleman. These Japanese fans are incredibly giving and incredibly talented. Let me quickly go to Valtteri Bottas, and I want to give you an update on his mullet, and I'll do this every race going forward because I think he's going to have it for a good couple of months. This is the length it is at now. More updates in China. Also this morning, coming up those same stairs, were Helmut Marko and Sergio Perez, and they chatted for some time inside the gates before they went their separate way. Of course, there's much conversation around whether Sergio Perez will be driving for Red Bull next year. Certainly the first 2 races went well. He couldn't have done any better really against Max. He ended up second. A little bit of a blip last race, but we'll see how he goes tomorrow in the Grand Prix here in Japan. Another driver under some pressure is Daniel Ricciardo, and he had a spin in FP3 and they ended up cutting straight to Liam Lawson. Of course, he's first in line if Red Bull decides that Daniel's form isn't good enough, and that would be sad. I think most everybody is hopeful that Daniel's form will improve shortly. Now have a look at this. These are all down the paddock here. They're trees, well, no, it's a plastic tree, and on it are little messages written by fans. This one says, "Fight, Suzuka, Te quiero, Carlos, vamos." This is a typical Japanese thing, and I quite love it. I'm not sure what happens to them afterwards, but for the moment, they're taking up a prime position here in the paddock, and people are coming past and reading some of these different messages. You probably can't read that, but it says, "For Lando from pole to win." Well, he's not on pole. He is, in fact, starting from third. Oh, and just behind me, you can probably hear them. Thousands of Japanese fans sitting in the grandstand. At the moment, Nico Hulkenberg's over there on the big screen, and they are entertaining a crowd of, I'm guessing, probably 10 to 20,000 people. And on Sunday night, tomorrow night, you'll find those grandstands will be nearly full after the race, well after the race, because they re-watch the race on TV. Who has a scooter in the paddock here? Well, I can tell you Lewis Hamilton has one, as does Valtteri Bottas and Fernando Alonso. And it's very quick for them to make their way from the top end here, which is where they come out of the FIA garage, down to the TV media pen, because it is all downhill. And this lady over here wants Daniel Ricciardo to marry her. I think she's got quite a bit of competition from Heidi Berger there. Here's a picture of Helmut Marko being interviewed by a TV network. And a couple of you have said, how does it work with media getting access to drivers and people they want to interview? Well, typically a journalist or a reporter or producer will have to contact the team and say, we'd like to interview driver A or B, and we'd like to do it on this date. Well, oftentimes the PR person will say, right, submit your questions, certainly for lesser publications. And in which case, the PR person will say, no, we don't want to do that interview. Or yes, we can do the interview, but we've got to have these questions crossed out. But what happens, say, when a journalist who speaks French interviews, say, Pierre Gasly or Esteban Ocon, and the PR person doesn't speak French? Because then, as in any interview, questions can sort of come up, which are on the list, and then suddenly you take off on a tangent, and perhaps you're in unknown territory. Well, often the PR person has no idea until well after. And if they do get an inkling, it's not uncommon for them to simply say, right, you can't go down that direction, or hey, shut the interview off. And does a small newspaper, say, have the same opportunity as the New York Times? Well, I understand it's not based on viewer numbers. It may take you a little bit longer to get your interview, perhaps if you're a smaller publication, but it doesn't preclude you because you are not the size of a major international publication. Well, I think I've run out of things to say, so probably best to let you get on with what you were doing before. Oh, please subscribe. About 50% of you aren't subscribed, and every time I say that, a number of you do subscribe, so thank you in advance for doing that. And of course, like this video. And for a whole lot more content of mine, that's where you go. Thanks for watching. Stay passionate. This one says SF fight. Alonso. Oh, you bastard.